Bam! What's up, guys? Here today to give you a little update on my Final Boss Merlin messing around. You can see in front of me here a video that I will begin playing now, and I'll talk a little as we go through it. Now, this is the first team that I was playing around with. It was Arthur, Gather, Red LizHawk, and Twigo on the back line. Okay? And another person that seems to work somewhat okay. You could replace Arthur for Red Gil Thunder. Okay. Now these two teams seem to have had similar results for me, in the sense that I can either buff with Arthur to get the gold buff, right? If I'm lucky enough, or I can use Gil Thunder's taunt to protect Red LizHawk and Red Gauther from taking hits, and then their passives will build up. Red LizHawk's passive will continue to boost her own attack, and Gauther's passive will also continue to boost everyone's attack. Meanwhile, Red Gil Thunder will be there just casually taking the hits. Okay? He'll draw the debuffs away from the other two, and Arthur's buff, once it's a gold buff, will make you immune to the debuffs. Okay, so you've got kind of a hit or miss here. Like a little bit of a pick that you can choose from in this case. Okay. Now, another team that we'll go over, I'll show you after this particular team's finished. This team here, I believe, has a much bigger point potential for us free-to-play noobs. My Arthur is 1 out of 6. My Red Gil Thunder is also, I think he's 2 or 3 out of 6. I think I can make him 3 out of 6 if I want, but right now he's only 2 out of 6. Unfortunately, when you use the Red Gil Thunder in place of the Arthur, now you can also, now that I mention it, you can also just put Arthur on the back line instead of Twigo, but LizHawk doesn't get the benefits of Arthur, okay, because she counts as a goddess, and neither does Gather. So it's entirely up to you. Arthur's there for his buff, Gil Thunder's there for his taunt. Unfortunately, while Gil Thunder's taunting, you're probably not going to get his ult off, mostly because when it comes to like him taking all the attacks from the first phase Merlin, it's basically just going to be his ult orbs getting smacked away all the time. Unless, of course, you can patience it. Okay? Now, personally, I only tried it with attack gear on my Gil Thunder. It'd probably work better if you try it with like defense or HP defense gear with some resistance on it. Okay? You'll probably patience some stuff then, if you're lucky. But, yeah, anyways, I think that this team has a bigger point potential than the next team. These couple of teams, right? The Arthur Gil Thunder, Gather, LizHawk, and then say Twigo backline, or you could use your Red Jericho backline if you want more attack. Okay, I think these teams have a bigger point potential because you can get more stats from them to finish it with. The only problem is that they're a lot more RNG dependent than the other team that I'm going to be going through, which is the team that I got a better score with. However, I think that these first teams, higher point potential based on your CC, like your overall CC and your gear in general. Okay, it is like Final Boss Merlin is definitely a much more you need a lot more sets of gear built to be able to perform well in it. Unlike Final Boss Gather, where we just needed like a really nice Hauser, is what I'm finding. When you're stuck without like the double AoE strat, you can see their LizHawk's sitting on 20k attack right now, thanks to the gold buff and Gather and hers passives, which aren't max, I believe. I'm sitting here deciding, do I go for the 200k plus now, or do I wait for the next phase? And I think I choose not to use it. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Do I choose to use it, or do I choose not to use it? I think I choose not to use it, and then my buff falls off in the next phase. Which is still fine, because I can silver buff on the next turn anyway, which I think is what I do. But yeah, it comes in handy for me saving the LizHawk ultimate here. Yeah, so I would have walked you guys through it a bit more, but it kind of it kind of does speak for itself. I'm gonna walk you guys through a bit better for the other team. This team, it's a little too RNG dependent for my liking, and it's super similar to the one that is getting the top scores at the moment. The only difference really is that red LizHawk is there instead of, red Escanor. And of course, with my own team, I've got a 1 out of 6 Goltha ult, and I've got a 1 out of 6 Arthur ult. I don't think my Arthur can even kill that mob on the right there. It's like 560% attack power or something. It's just no good. Okay, for the most part. It's just really no good. However, I think I'm going to keep working on the team that I finally have started being able to play around with a bit more today, which is Red Slader, Hauser, and Vivian. Now, I am considering playing around with Hauser a bit more, and I'll explain that when we get to them. I'm also playing around, I like Vivian a lot more than Red LizHawk, because the 200k plus, as a, nub free to play with no Escanor or 6/6 Arthur ult, or anything like that, the Vivian kind of guarantees your 200k plus because of the way her passive works. And I'll show you guys. Plus she's got the Ignite, which, she can self-boost her damage. Even without, Gauthers, even without, having a Gauther there to boost the passive. Okay? So, to boost the attack with the passive. And, yeah, we'll talk more on that team in a minute. We'll just let this finish up. But you can see here I'm kind of deciding, can I kill that ad with this ult? Now, thankfully, I think I do. However, there have been occasions where it has not killed her. You'll see how weak damage is in a second. So it only hit for 59k. So if she was any higher HP, there's a good chance that Arthur wouldn't have killed her. Now, one of the biggest downfalls for my own personal points, what I've kind of found is that it's not so much just the units and stuff. It seems to be that you want to kind of end it. Most of mine, I think the best scores I've got have both ended on about turn 8. So for me personally, I need to try and figure out how I'm going to reduce my turn count and get through even quicker than I already have. I think I'm already kind of sorted on the units. I think I'm going to be continuing to push through with the second team. Now, I don't show any gear at with this particular video. I did kind of forget to open the gear up and go through it, but I do show gear in the next video that shows the Vivian and Red Slader team, and at the end of that video. So they're only about 10 minutes each, I believe. So you can see we're going through the points. I got 2640. Okay, even with that kind of it wasn't the best RNG. Okay, and if I had, if you guys have higher ult levels than me, you'll probably perform a lot better. You can see it put me up around the top, 6.59% there. Now, if we get started on the next video, you can see here it's about 151k CC. Okay, there's the Slader, Vivian, Arthur, and Hauser, and I'm using attack food. Okay. Both attempts I used attack food, and yeah, I'll try and walk you guys through what's going on in my head when I'm trying to do this particular one. I think it also ends around turn 8, and I think like that's kind of where I'm at, is like trying to figure out how I can lower my turn count even more, and I believe that's gonna be what pushes my score even higher. Because okay, so you can see here I'm trying to figure out, I kind of want to save those Vivian cards. Is Red Slater able to kill? Is, should I use the Hauser card? And then of course I just go for it. I figure out we'll see, and if I gotta reset, I'll reset. But I didn't, because Slater actually does some pew pew, you know. Now, for the record, guys, that overpower card there, every time you use it, it's worth about 15 points just as a stance blocker. Now, it's not a stance remover, however, Vivian's card is. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head if you need to use Vivian's card to remove a stance directly for the extra points, or if you just need to use it in general. I think that you just kind of, you can see here I'm using overpower to block Merlin's attacks, and I also lower her attack damage. Okay, it is very handy. Like, it's a very useful skill, especially for the second phase. I try to have an overpower ready to go for the second phase here. I do take a risk later on, I think, in order to stop the first phase Merlin from using, like, I think it's like 3 or something. Like, I take a risk, basically, to try and, stop her from doing something with her attacks. And it does pay off. So you do still need to get a little lucky. So here I'm not too sure what I want to do. So I just kind of block her out and hope for the best. Unfortunately, we didn't get the kill there. Would have been very handy if we could have. Like I said, like, she's only level 75, and I am kind of still working on her, as well as association, ear, and stuff. Okay. Now this part was like a little tricky for me, because I was like, I wasn't too sure how I wanted to deal with this particular issue. Like, I didn't have any more alt blocks, so I think what I chose to do was use the overpower to stop those extra damage cards from going off, and I think she ults the Hauser. So I try and I'm thinking, am I gonna get through that shield? Can I kill her? I'm trying to figure out which card should I use, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I decide on the Sever card here, and then a small card to try and finish her off. As long as you kill her... Oh, never mind. I go for the stance removal. My bad. I think I should have gone for the small card, is what I thought to myself afterwards. So I'm there and I'm trying to decide, will the small one kill her? Because as long as you kill them, you're not going to take the reflect damage. Okay, as long as you kill them with that turn, you're not going to take the reflect damage. Now you can see that I've managed to build all 3 ultimates up at this point, and I'm quite happy with this. And this is the part where I'm worried about, can I hit that, can I get that 200k and just end this round right away and go into the next phase? You see we're on turn 5, and we've got all 3 ults up, but we're not on the next phase, and we're not even close to the next phase. So it took, I'm on turn 5, and I believe we finish on about turn 8, and I've got to try and figure out, okay, I've managed to get 2800 this particular run. How can I lower my, how can I lower my turn count even more? But you can see here, I'm in an Armin. I got 15,740 attack. I'm like, ooh, is that enough? Again, she's only level 70. And I just go for the, the Slader attack to get rid of the last little bit of that shield. Make sure I can get that ignite on the boss. and then I'm going to smack her with Vivian's ult and take us right to the second phase. Now, what I would like to do is have a 6/6 Hauser here, you know, or a 6/6 Gather, so that I can like one-shot the ads on the second phase. Unfortunately, I have a 1/6 everything, except for my SI units. So you can see I got 226,000 damage there. I might not have needed the ignite, but I'm glad that I did it anyway. Now you see I've got that overpower card for Slader. So we get to the second phase, and I want that overpower card on Merlin as soon as I get into the match. You see I was lucky enough to get Silver Ignite there, which is great. I've got another overpower just in case as well. Remember, those overpowers are worth 15 points each time. Now, How's is still attack blocked, but I couldn't use like another AoE anyway. I use Slader's ult on that right unit because she has a habit of doing a little bit of damage, right, which is going to decrease your overall HP, as well as just like she'll take your ults away. So she's a bit of a nuisance. Okay. Now you can see that Merlin is mostly harmless again now that we've put overpower on her. She won't freeze us, she won't put any debuff on us, and she can only use her like regular Merlin Pierce attack, which now does less damage. So you see that ad on the right there? I kind of and ah about what to do here, because I'm worried about how much HP that mob has. You see we're on turn 7, and I'm like, oof, how can I end this? Can I, do I take the shield away and then, use the Slader card, maybe the Hauser card? I really keep looking at that Sever card, and I'm glad that I took a step back and I decided, you know what, we can actually get Vivian's ult here. Because I think that if I hadn't gone for Vivian's ultimate here, I wouldn't have been able to finish it on the next turn. Sadly. I feel like I probably would have got shafted. Now, honestly, I used the Sever card because I thought that the mob might actually live. I didn't expect Vivian. I was about to I was thinking, maybe I should reset. Because I was thinking, it feels like a waste not to just use the Slader card. But I was like, nah, don't worry about it. We've got the ultimate. There's no point. It's already done, right? I was thinking maybe I could have used the gold card for extra points. And you see here I used 2 overpowers because I think I'm pretty sure they're they're 15 points each, so I get like an extra 30 points out of that just for doing that. And I'm pretty sure that out of all the cards there, I think they're worth the most. Not 100% sure. There's an extra 20 points just for using Vivian's ult. Now I didn't quite get 200k, but we've already got the 200k. And we finish on turn 8. There's about 4 turns per round. So for me personally, I've got to try and figure out, okay, how am I going to improve my turn count more so than anything? Like, I think that this team is a lot more consistent than the other teams in terms of just clearing the final boss. And you can also see that like it has scored 2,800 points. The gear's going to start in a minute. You guys can pause the video and have a look at those points a bit more if you want to go through them. See, we only lost 320 points for the amount of turns we took, which means I would have been pretty close to 29 or 3k. I think that any kind of extra points would come from like that I might be able to get would probably come from like just having more HP. So HP gear, HP defense gear, all attack stats, just get higher CC, get more overall HP. Like maybe even like for me personally, I could probably replace Arthur and put Twigo there because I don't need Arthur's passive more. I probably need the Twigo HP more than Arthur's passive because most of my gear actually does have life leech on it already. And you could see like it's not really like I wasn't really taking too much damage thanks to the overpower and the other ways that I prevent the incoming damage, right? So here we're gonna kind of go through the gear, and you'll see it's not that big a deal. This is the same kind of gear that I was using on the other units. This is the attack gear I was using on the red LizHawk. It is more improved than it was in that previous run. I've been kind of trying to upgrade this attack set. Hauser, he's no different than Final Boss Gather. He's still just got his ultra rare attacks, and everything else hasn't changed. But yeah, I think like if you guys have these units, you can still get like a decent score. I think Hauser can be swapped out with someone else. I am planning to also try with Helbram. I think that a unit like the SR Barn, the red barn, could probably replace both as well. Essentially, you just want them to get the dissolve, and you could use the Barn's ultimate as well. I've been unfortunately, like, I don't have enough SR pendants to play around with him as well, which is kind of sad because I would have really liked to play around with the ignore defense ultimate as well as the ignore resistance ultimate. As long as I get enough of like Barnes cards, who knows? Maybe we'd be able to zerg through the phases really quickly. But yeah, you could see that Red Slader just kind of had he has my old Jericho gear on him at the moment. Usually it's just there on Jericho, and she's being used as an association unit more often than not these days. Yeah, it's just this is kind of some of the first gear that I use that I just use for association units now. I never really upgraded it. The left side is pretty it's pretty bad. They're like the base stats are only about halfway there. But yeah, I think like I was saying, biggest score mostly going to come from raising your ults even further, and just so you raise your CC, raising your HP further, so you get those extra HP points, and yeah, just make sure you finish with as much HP as you can. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you guys, because I will continue to play around even further, and I'll get back to you guys on what I decide to do. But yeah, summary, I think that the Red LizHawk teams have the potential for a higher score if you get the RNG, and I think the Vivian team is more consistent in its clearing. Anyways, peace out, guys. Hope this was informative and helpful. Good luck on your top 5%, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.